Yo!
Hello! Sorry for being a little behind. It's been a bit of a morning, so to say
a lifetime in a morning.
Yes, seriously, man. Happy full moon in Capricorn. I hope all of you have had a good full moon thus far. I have my Capricorn Luna Essence. Actually, I was looking at it last night and during my Rainbow Awakening hour for a meaningful dream. The Capricorn Luna Essence was the first Luna Essence that I launched last year.
Oh.
So it's been a year officially of me creating the Luna Essences in the way that they're created. So
Interesting.
what a fun thing to celebrate. So we
Sorry,
also
I'm like distracted here, like trying to pack this bowl.
Yeah, we were running a little bit behind this morning, so which it tends to happen during full moons and things like that. So if you're a Capricorn, know that you might be feeling this full moon in some capacity. So actually, because you're doing that, I actually want to use this Luna Essence. I plan on making more updated Luna Essence tonight, but I really like the idea of using this. So
Sorry, I need to replenish this water. It smells awful.
Oh, okay. All right, so while we do that, if you would like to receive this Capricorn blessing from my Luna Essence, put yourself in that space. Let's take a deep breath together. Beautiful. And then I'm going to spray this with the mantra, I work hard and I play hard. I am abundant and I am prosperous. Slow and steady wins the race. Time takes love and perseverance. Money.
Perseverance.
And then, because Capricorn is all about abundance, I am abundant and you are abundant. We are abundant.
Did you say it was abundance spray?
Yes, this is my abundance spray.
It was just like, you're abundant spraying or something. I don't know.
Yeah, this is my abundance spray. So I figured that would be a nice little thing. And actually, now that we're doing that, I should have done this first. But I'm going to use my Higher Consciousness bundle just to help us open up this space. I'll have to... And the Luna Essences are really good for charging the space too. So as we cleanse the space, open up our minds and our hearts and our soul, replenish it with abundance, faith, and all of those good jazz. Yes, we. I love the chamomile. I love this. I just love how this smells. It smells so good. So what do you want to talk about today, baby?
I don't know. I was just looking at the framing of this shot. I'm not entirely in love with it, but...
We can move it closer. Move it closer.
I don't know, man. Ooh, I can't go too much closer. The cord won't allow it. The cord says, no close-up, are you?
But this is nice. This is better, though, so people can kind of see us more.
Yeah.
Do you want to just get into the blessing and kind of go from there?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
We're going to be using this bong that I made here, this water pipe that I made here. It's got 10 four-leaf clovers, so I'm very happy about that.
Because you're the 11th.
Right. Because you're the 11th four-leaf clover.
Why you didn't hit 11?
Wow. That would have been a great maybe pickup line.
Maybe. Could have been. Don't need that anymore.
No. Well...
It'd be funny if we treated like a marriage ceremony and like picking each other up at a bar or some shit.
What you doing?
You played out this sort of show for like everyone. Like this is how relationships got together. I don't know. It's some bullshit. It's weird. That's a weird thought.
It is a weird thought, but I like it.
All right.
Okay.
Blessing.
All right. Ready? Let's take a deep breath. Bless you, Mary Jane, and thank you for being here with us today during this Wake and Bake. May we have a lovely wonderful, fun, informative, and prosperous show. May it bring abundance to us and to all of those who are listening and watching. And may it open up the hearts and the minds and the souls of those who are listening and or watching. Thank you for being here and giving us your medicine and your ability for being able to reach higher states of consciousness. We love you and we bless you. Thank you for a dope show, and so dope it be.
So dope it be. We should have like one of those like fancy religious like incense things, or like the priest says like it's like a ball on a chain, and it's just like blessing everyone with the incense powers and everything.
I almost bought one.
You didn't even smoke yet. I like caught your second hand smoke there. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I hit that a little hard.
Wow.
It was a big hit.
Careful.
It's been a stressful morning, okay? I feel like I needed that big hit.
It's
But
a stressful week.
yeah, it's been a stressful week.
Stressful life. All life.
All life. Well, that might be a good thing for us to talk about, is how to manage stress and how to deal with stress, especially when you're stressed the fuck out. So Mary Jane is really good about that. But obviously Mary Jane, you know, we can't just smoke her all day and know that and hope our stresses go away. But she does help that a lot, because I feel like she does allow us to kind of tap into these inner parts of ourselves as well as these higher parts of ourselves, in order for us to kind of heal, to kind of identify what needs to be addressed. But it's really up to us to really do the work. And Mary Jane just kind of helps kind of give us that push towards those things.
We're primarily chemically created, you know, so in order for us to, well, I think a lot of what we interpret to be the human condition, you know, emotions, you know, moods, you know, things like that, are often ruled by, you know, that sort of emotional imbalance sometimes, or like the chemical imbalance within, you know, the brain. Because, you know, there's lots of people out there that have a lot of mental illness, and it's just because they have a different chemical composition in their brain. And I think that marijuana and other certain substances of that psychoactive nature, you know, allow you to kind of change or recalibrate that chemical balance within your brain, to elicit certain reactions, such as, you know, euphoria, feelings of love and support, you know, versus the not so productive feelings of self-deprecation and, you know, the like. So,
yes.
Another kitty.
Annabelle, you've never
kitties.
joined us for
So
Wake and
many
Bake or any. Really, you're always the one that's pretty good. But here we have, you just saw Annabelle pass by a minute ago.
Sweet little baby, as I pet her off.
Yes, she's
Oh,
a
she
sweet.
just wants to love on the paper flowers.
She wants to be where we are. Well, it's been, you know, a stressful day, and I think that they can read that. So,
Well,
but
she saw also sleep up here on the top of the couch, and we took that away.
that's true. So we put the flowers up there.
Yeah.
That's probably why she's probably
Wonder
gonna
what
just end
happened.
up sitting there.
Yeah.
The things you do for your cats.
It's gonna take
I love my babies so much, but my goodness, they are so spoiled.
so needy.
They're so spoiled.
Give a cat some milk.
and they'll
He'll
beg
for it
forever. One time,
Terrible.
we gave Gatsby, the cat who normally joins us during these wake and bakes, and Annabella's subbing for him today. And what's so funny about it is we gave Gatsby milk one time, just one time, and it was oat milk. It wasn't even regular milk.
Wasn't even the good stuff.
Well, oat milk I think would be better for him than regular milk, but we gave it to him one time, and now every single morning he goes into the kitchen and he screams for it. Like
Screams.
Yeah.
His head just
Woke
poked
him
up.
up.
Like,
Just and just like
He knows-
my goodness.
he knows
he
his
gets like
sounds.
really like really aggressive meows, especially for him because he's such a sweet cat. So it'll be very like, and you could tell when he's frustrated. It's just so funny. Come on, baby.
Come here, baby.
So anyway, so yeah, going back to stress, like you were saying, there's people who have just different compounds and chemicals in their brain. So the way that they handle stress and deal with stress
You're
is
shedding,
much different. Yeah, it's that summertime, baby. Come here.
Just so many sheds.
Good baby.
Just like a backyard full of
Good
sheds.
baby, baby.
That much setting.
I know we could probably make like another cat with all of the cats
Just
shedding that
Just
we
a
have.
trailer park of sheds.
Lay down, baby. So yeah, stress can be a bitch.
Yeah. So when I was first starting back out in my new comic book creator career, I put together a superhero story. It was a big book. It took me over a year.
Atlas?
Yeah, Atlas to put together. And there came a time where, after a year of working on it and putting it together, that I had to start soliciting and putting it out there and telling people about it. And because I made a crowdfunder to try to, get some prints made of it. So I was soliciting all kinds of comic book stores and places that, I thought would be interested. And at that time, I developed a really, really bad stomach issue where, certain foods would trigger really bad acid reflux. I had a really horrible time trying to expel gas from my stomach, where gas would just get trapped in my stomach, and I would feel just really uncomfortable and full and unable to burp, which is like honestly one of the worst feelings
really,
ever.
Yeah,
like I don't know,
feel
it seems so benign, just trapped gas, but like I could see why pregnant women confuse trapped gas for like, oh, it's coming, because it's like it really does have that. Yeah, it has that pressure in in the inside of you that you're not normally thinking about, where you just like, oh, it's so debilitating. I remember one time I quite literally couldn't eat for a whole day, and I was in total discomfort for like over 24 hours because I just could not get the gas to get out of my stomach.
Yeah.
No matter what I did, I was walking around like I was putting my arms up in the air, just like stretching around trying to get it out, and it just would not come out. And then finally, it just like this would happen a couple of times. It's probably too much information, but like, it would just like hit the right spot where it was just like it was like really bad. But that's not exactly how it sounded. It was just like a lot of this trapped gas just like finding a way out, and finally it was just like
it was all erupted at once.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's things like that stress could have a physical, effect on your body, even though it's a non-physical phenomenon.
Most of our illnesses come from stress. Most of our illnesses are rooted because of stress, not because of like cancer. Yeah, well, it's not just genetics. Because here's the thing: like we all have the genes of every single kind of disease that there possibly can be. It's just we have to be able to trigger the right thing. And so we can carry a very cancerous gene. So, for example, a lot of cancer runs in my family, and as long as I don't trigger that cancer gene, then even though I have a history of my family having it, I might be able to still like avoid it because I have been able to manage and maintain like my stress. And actually, your story made me think of the first time. Your story. It made me remember the first time, especially because my cousin who I went with just texted me. The first time I traveled outside the country. Yeah, hi Monica.
You're not watching, but hi. It's funny.
Well, maybe now she will. Because we told her we gave her a shout out.
She'll watch it in like 6 months. It'll be funny. Anyway, go ahead.
So when we went to Mexico, so it was my very first time traveling outside of the country. So I was really nervous because I had never been outside the country before. And, you hear all kinds of like stories and then like, things like that. And so we were with family, but we were with family and we were in like good areas. And so I think it was just more the fact that like it was a new thing for me, but I got so stressed out that I backed up my stomach and my bowels, and I was like that for like the first like 3 or 4 days, and like we ate a lot of food. Like it got to the point where like I physically could not eat anymore because my body couldn't finish digesting
And I
the
thought
food I
my
had
stuff was
previously
too much
ate.
information.
Yeah,
You're
no.
over here just talking, like putting images of like compacted colons.
But that's what. But I'm being real. Like that's what happened. Like, and it wasn't until my Dia had offered papaya that it was able to find. Like papaya is actually
papaya was just like a blowout.
Kind of.
Just a blowout.
Papaya is really good for your digestive system, and it's also good if you're backed up. And it's really, and it's good if like you need to. Well, papaya, I don't remember exactly, but I think papaya also has something in it that triggers for stress to be like relieved as well. I think, which I think is why it's so good for the digestive system because it helps with inflammation.
Yep.
So, and that's what stress basically is inflammation, energy inflammation, or I would say even
that's interesting.
Just inflammation. Yeah.
Well,
it's energy inflammation.
Well, think about what we talked about previously, the idea that, if enough, in our previous episode about space, like if enough energy of a similar vibration coalesces together to create, it will create a physical, something. It will create physicality with properties unique to its own or itself.
And that's what stress
and stress, yeah, it makes sense. Like if you have enough stress, if you pull in, if you attract enough of this stressful energy that vibrates at a similar frequency, it may coalesce in a particular spot of the body that is associated with that type of stress, because there's all different types of stress.
So let's say like your root chakra. So many men like colon cancer, prostate cancer. So something in their root chakra, like a stability or safety or security. Even sexuality.
Makes sense. Breast cancer for women, that's a lot of heart chakra stuff. So it could have something to do with not feeling loved, feeling as though your love is not, reciprocated or you're unsupported in your love,
Yep.
It's an interesting concept to see how you can, to see how you can bridge the non-physical, the spiritual into the physical.
Yes.
Because it broadens your overall perspective of that truth. I mean, honestly, like
I feel like that's what we need.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of knowledge about what causes these specific ailments as far as like cancer and because it's honestly like we know we all have cancer cells in our body. It's just a particular way in which they are metastasized and turned on and grow. And I mean, everybody's cancer is different. Some people have incredibly aggressive cancers and they didn't do a thing wrong. They never smoked in their life. And then there are people that smoked for 100 years and never get cancer. So it's like, I don't think that is a particular trigger. It might be something that
I think it plays a part. Yeah, it definitely plays a role.
Well, it's health, right? Like you're saying, inflammation. Like if your body is, so riddled with inflammation, then maybe that metastasizes into cancer cells. But maybe people who smoke a lot, or maybe there are certain people who smoke a lot that just don't allow themselves to get into that state of, incredible inflammation. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, that inflammation can also be in the mind too. Like you can smoke a lot, and I still think because the mind is so powerful, still be able to create a lot of stress into one area. The mind really is the root, I feel like, of all stress most of the time.
Yeah.
Because I think the heart knows, like the heart understands that there's going to be ups and downs. The heart, I think, knows that, and the mind knows that too. But I think what's different is that the heart has a different way of, I think, approaching it, but also healing it than the mind does. And I think we often get so caught up in our mind and in our head that we avoid listening to our heart because our heart knows all. Our heart knows everything. That's the
Our heart knows all.
Well, as I was saying last night in my live, is like we are the access point to the universe, and the way that you access that part and the way you access the universe is from within, and it begins in your heart center. That's why the heart is the center of the body, right? Because that is the access point. You can access it in other points too, but I think in order for things to really go in that depth, I think this is where it stem from, is the heart. Love is the root of everything, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, love is the thing that will pull you out of your most deepest, darkest fears and depressions.
And the heart goes into those things too. It's not to say the heart's all light. It's
right.
It has the dark in it as well, but it also has answers when. Right. And it's not to say the mind doesn't have answers. It does, but sometimes I think we just overthink things.
Right. Well, we all are.
And both. We can overfeel too.
We are the underthinker and the overthinker, the doer and the non-doer. We are everything in between. We are both the good and the bad. Even though we may not see ourselves as that, I'm sure there are people that I've met in my life only once and that have had a very bad experience with me because maybe it was just a bad day, and they have a particular view of me as, oh, that guy's just a dick. I know that must be the case in a couple of people out in the world. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the case for you too and for everyone else that exists. Think about how many people you see every single day, that you interact with every single day, that you have never seen before and will probably never see again.
Yeah.
Never. Ever.
I know.
However long you're going to live, 80 years or whatever, that person will never cross your path ever again.
Just that one time, though.
Yeah.
Even though you don't know them, you won't meet them, right. You won't get
And even if it's somebody where it could be that type of person or interaction where it's literally you just wave at them in your car because they let you through or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or a person that you opened the door for and you actually got into a mini conversation with and it was a great conversation, right? They think of you as, hey, that's just a great, awesome person that just opened that door. I mean, that's just a cool person. You know what I mean? And I guess what I'm getting at is we all are the same because we all are both good and bad, both do and do not, both correct and incorrect.
I think it's we're light in the shadow. Yeah.
And because of that, I think we have the equal opportunity to choose which we want to exhibit and live in. And I know for me personally, we've been talking recently a lot about how I've been struggling for over a year now to truly love myself in the sense that I can materialize abundance and specifically financial abundance. For me, I feel as though I've been working towards it, but even though I feel like I've been working towards it, yesterday I meditated with very specific intention yesterday. I mean, I meditate micro, times throughout the day here and there, but it's not going into my room, shutting off all the lights, closing the blinds, putting a blanket over me, and quite literally diving into myself. That I did for the first time yesterday in a long time, to be honest. As much as a guru as I try to be. Good? Well, what I was going to say is not only did it feel good, but it was a kick in the heart. As soon as because I was in a really bad place yesterday, and I've been in really bad places in previous days, all because of money, really. But it's
a stressful time we're living in.
It put me in that spot where I was like, I need to meditate. I just feel like I need to meditate. So I went and I meditated, and it was almost as if, and it was funny because right off the bat, I had this fear that I wouldn't be able to get into it and that it would just not work for me. Mm-hmm. And immediately the thought took over that you are a seasoned meditator. You've done this time and time again. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to tap into this again. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that happened, as soon as that thought crossed my mind and completely overtook the previous doubt, I got literally kicked in the heart by a spirit guide or by my collective spirit guides, or what if it was powerful, man. It was quite literally just I felt as though someone squeezed my heart and just literally was like, you have been not meditating and haven't been keeping up your end of the bargain for your spiritual development, and you need to meditate more. We're not mad. We love you, but you really need to do this. Time is running out. You have time, but time is running out. You need to do this. And it wasn't like I broke out in tears, but it was like one of those moments, when you're overcome with intense emotion, when your mouth is just like open and you're just like, just like, oh my God, like I couldn't even cry. It was so intense. The emotion that I felt, the intense emotion. But then after that, I calmed down and I went through my normal routine. But I felt like I was being shown all these different aspects of myself through past life visions. Like I was going through different visions of me just like brutally killing things and like being part of these wonderful, amazing other, existences, and just like coming back into my body. And then these spirit guides telling me like, this is an aspect of you. This is an aspect of you that's brutal, or this is an aspect of you that's dark. This is, and just walking me through.
Well, just showing you all the different, all your different parts of
Yeah.
you, not just in this lifetime, but
Right.
in other lifetimes that have also influenced this lifetime.
Right, because a lot of what I believe our past lives are doing for the future versions of ourselves is we are in those lives, we're experiencing all of what is to be experienced by the human consciousness viscerally in the moment for ourselves in person, in the flesh, so that we take that experience with us forward. And when we have that similar type of experience in the future, we have that previous kind of consciousness that's connected to that.
Yeah.
It makes it that much more real, right? Think about it. Like you wouldn't really know what it feels like.
Ooh.
Oh no!
The light, that scared me.
Ugh.
It's okay. I kind of have
I have a-
that.
well,
Those
I-
lights are kind of heavy.
They are very heavy, and I just don't want them to come crashing down on you, because they're going to come crashing down on you.
Well, if they do, then
'Cause
so
there's
be it.
two
But there's
more.
a hook right here,
Yeah,
so
well,
this
that
one
one's-
should be okay.
That one's going to be solid. These two right here could come
Well,
crashing down.
it'll be
I
fine.
just
But-
really hope they don't break.
You know what though? That seems to happen a lot when you say something that's really juicy. Like what did you just say?
Let's replay the tape.
Yeah, we'll have to replay the tape because
Oh,
that happens a lot. Like when one of us says something like profound, one of the lights at that
Something
moment will
happens.
fall, and it's always the lights.
yeah. It is always the lights. That's pretty interesting.
And it's
Never
always
thought
when
about
we
that.
say something like when I think we say something that I think is like needs to be noticed, and maybe there's an intention. Like I feel like that's an act of spirit being like, okay, yes, pay attention to what you said, or
Right.
no, or depending on the way
Right.
that I think it all works out, the timing, when it happened, who you were with, the room that you were in. I mean, like it can go really, it sounds crazy, but like there's signs everywhere and they're happening at every single second and every single moment. It's just you have to learn how to read that. You have to learn how to read the language, and you have to learn how to be, to listen, to hear, and to pick it up and to receive the frequency of whatever that is.
If you really think about it, everything, if time is not a thing and space is not a thing, then everything that actually happens in this linear perspective, in a way, is being influenced by the future and by the past, not just the past. And I think that's what a lot of us assume, because we don't know what the future is, and it's difficult for us to take that into account, because how could we if we don't know what it is? But I think what we can do is we can at least be open and accept the fact that the future and the events of the future have some influence on the past. And if we can do that, then maybe we can open ourselves up to greater perspectives and greater understandings of reality, because there are many levels to reality, to conscious reality. I mean, you can choose to live in whichever one you want to, because there's a lot of people that live in a reality where the world is just a dark and heavy, horrible place where
all the
nothing
time
good happens
and nothing
to you.
good happens.
And that's typically
the
the reality
reality.
they live,
Perception
because
is
that's
reality.
what they're putting out, right?
Yep.
But the opposite is also true, and everything else in between. And I personally have felt this week more viscerally than most weeks that it is difficult at times when you are challenged. Like, I'm not a very religious person, but I can't help but think of the story of Job in the Bible, and
we brought up that quite a lot.
He had undying faith in his God, and the devil basically made a bet with God that I bet that I can shake his faith if you were to take things away from him, or allow me to take things away from him. I can't remember which. And he had his wife taken from him, his land taken from him, his children taken from him, his health taken from him, and at every turn, he was still grateful, for something else that he did have. And I honestly, again, I'm not a major religious person, and there are some things in the Bible I'm not really agree with, obviously. But there are a lot of very useful truths in these stories, and that one in particular, about us having gratitude for all the things in life that we do have and don't have, because those are the things that are propelling us towards what is ultimately the best outcome for us.
Yep.
And it's, again, paradoxical.
Bizarre. Yeah.
It sounds bizarre. It's hard to wrap your brain around. And again, for me,
but it's true.
It's been difficult this past year, especially, I would say, recently, because it's that much more intense. It's that much more dire. So it's difficult, but not impossible. And in the non impossible, that there is faith.
Right. Well, like I was saying, I think in one of the conversations that you and I are having, is like, this is a world of infinite possibilities, that there's so many possibilities that can stand before us. So why not believe in the possibility that's going to have the best outcome for ourselves? Why do we always automatically believe in the worst? It seems that way. Like, we're taught that way in society and in religion. Unfortunately, it is a survival thing, and I think it's coming out of that survivalist mind is challenging, because surviving is about life or death. And so some of these situations can feel life or death, and you're afraid of death, and maybe death is the answer in the energetic form, in the identity form, or a change just in how you do the things.
The fear of not having money to pay your bills, and the fear of being kicked out on the street, and the fear of all the things that can happen out there in the wild, and the fear of death ultimately. Like what I was just describing is like the events that could propel any of us, any person, to the brink, just like what I described with Job. And it's a hard reality to sit in, and a hard thing to overcome, this fear of losing everything, and losing yourself, losing your identity, being dead. But ultimately, it's something that needs to be explored, I think. It's a hard topic, but
I agree.
it not only will, in my mind, I think it will not only help transform everyone's life, including my own, but I think it will help to transform our concept and our relationship with the idea of death.
And also, I think even with not just that, but having that concept in our conscious, we'll treat each other, I think, with a little bit more understanding and respect, because we know what that death could mean for one person.
Yeah.
When you experience death, things change in the way that you look at everything, not just yourself, but the way you look at everything and everyone. It all changes.
Yeah.
But death, and that's why I think we see so many cultures. That's why I love the Mexican culture for how they, I was going to say, for celebrating death. And like death being, because death is a symbol of life. Like I always like kind of like have always like thought that when going to funerals and things like that. And even though it's incredibly sad and it's heartbreaking and it's like really just low and just frustrating, I also know that there's a new beginning of some sort happening simultaneously, that is happening maybe in the ethereal that just hasn't hit the physical. The death part is hitting physical. So there'll be time to process that. But that also means like, because when death and life meet together, I think that's when like the circle comes, everything meets in the circle, everything comes back around.
Right.
So there's a door opening. And that's why like when we see deaths in families or in other places, that's why we see so many other people change, or it be like a life shaking moment, because something about their life and their perspective and their heart has changed, and maybe even opened up their heart even more. And I think that's like the point, is to like go through that death, feel that pain, feel that suffering, or not suffering I should say, but feel those emotions.
The grief is okay,
and the grief, and it's a natural part of it, and then walk in and keep continuing to walk, knowing that there's the opposite getting ready to meet you at the other side in time, whatever time that is.
Well, and the last thing I will say, because we're over time.
Time. Isn't that what we're talking about tonight? Is time?
It's time. Oh my goodness.
It's time to talk about time.
I didn't think about that correlation, but you're right. But I would say, if I can remember the last thought that I wanted to say.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just, wake and bake. That's what happens. But
mushroom coffee helps it all.
But I think that one thing that we can do after we put things in perspective and give ourselves the time is, to have more, like you're saying, to open our hearts up to what we do have in that moment. Because it's, again, time is an illusion.
Yeah.
So that moment, our moments, this moment is the only thing there is. It's a precious moment every single time. So, to not have gratitude for all the things that you do have in that moment, especially when you're feeling down on yourself, or you're feeling like something is being taken away from you, you're a victim, right? To not be able to connect to what you do have, and to only be able to connect to what you don't have, that's the work that I didn't quite understand before, and I feel as though I'm grasping more now. I put a lot of that into practice yesterday, where as soon as my thought went into a bad place because something went wrong, or I was thinking something that was negative, I stopped myself and I just did a little gratitude moment, where I thought about all the things I do have that I'm grateful for. And I think that's helping. So we'll see. But anyway, we're done for today.
Yeah,
for
we're very over.
Very,
wake
very
and
over.
bakey.
Yeah, wake and bakey.
Not too bad.
I said last time I wanted to do a wake and bake with bacon.
Yeah, and
but
we did fruit.
Not this time. Yeah. I wanted to cook just a mess of bacon. I didn't even buy bacon this week. So.
Oh no.
Yeah, haven't been able to bring all the bacon.
Bacon.
Anyway,
well, soon we will.
Take care, guys. Make sure to watch later on tonight. We're going to be doing our second episode of season 4. As we said, we're going to be talking about time. Can't wait for that one. I'm super excited.
I know. I'm very excited too.
So look out for that tonight at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time, wherever you get your podcasts.
And on YouTube.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, and on YouTube.
And don't forget to subscribe here if you haven't already. And if you would like to follow us on our social media and like to just see the other things that we're doing, Dave has a show tomorrow night called the Mushroom Menagerie. Yeah, and Saturday night.
In case you can't have
And it's virtual, so that means more people can come. So if you're interested, go to our website to get the information, higher-consciousness-talk.com.
/events.
Yeah, because it is going to be, just a real quick little snippet, like what is the Mushroom Menagerie about? So
basically,
people can know.
it is going to be an art gallery that is filled with all the different paintings that I've done, inspired by some of my mushroom trips. Not every single painting was done while tripping, but many were. And so I'm
Yeah,
going
like
to
9 in one night.
yeah, like I did. Yeah, I usually when I'm tripping, I do many paintings in one night.
Yeah.
But then there are other nights where I'm not tripping, and I still just I want to paint like there's a big ass one over here. I was
Yeah, it's
not
pretty
tripping for,
dope.
and all that is probably one of my favorites.
Mhm.
But anyway, so all these paintings are going to be on display. I'm going to be walking you through the whole show piece by piece, telling you about each different painting, why I create, or like what was going through my head when I created it. As well as doing a little bit of a live art demonstration for a bit of the show. So you get to see some finished artwork. You get to watch current artwork being made. It's going to be a blast. So if you want to watch on Facebook, you can watch on Facebook, on my Facebook, Dave Swartz Art from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Or if you have Instagram, you can watch on my Instagram at Dave Swartz Art. From 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, should be fun.
Yeah.
And both Friday and Saturday night.
Yes.
So, 2 nights in a row.
I'll be there helping to curate and make sure everything goes well.
It's going to be a wild couple of days here.
Yes, it will. But, okay, now we really have to go. But thank you so much for listening and watching, and we will see you next Wake and Bake on Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as listening to all of our shows and whatnot tonight, too. So thank you. Bye.
We should both do it. Me. Oh, no.